Deep in the heart of Africa lies the Democratic Republic of Congo, a nation of unparalleled natural wealth and heartbreaking human suffering. Imagine a land of lush rainforests teeming with life, vast mineral deposits fueling the modern world, and a vibrant tapestry of cultures. This is Congo, a country larger than Western Europe, with the mighty Congo River, the planet's second longest, coursing through its veins. Yet, beneath this surface of immense potential, lies a history marred by violence, exploitation, and a struggle for control that has spanned centuries. The Congo River Basin, a region of breathtaking biodiversity, has long been a source of both life and contention. Its fertile soil and abundant resources have attracted traders, colonizers, and opportunists for centuries. From the Arab slave trade to the brutal Belgian colonial regime, the Congo's people have endured unimaginable hardship and exploitation. The echoes of this turbulent past resonate deeply within Congolese society, fueling a cycle of violence that continues to this day. Despite the darkness, the Congolese spirit remains unbroken. The people of Congo are renowned for their resilience, their vibrant culture, and their unwavering hope for a brighter future. From the bustling streets of Kinshasa to the remote villages nestled deep within the rainforest, life goes on, a testament to the enduring human spirit in the face of adversity. But the question remains, can Congo break free from the shackles of its past and forge a new path towards peace and prosperity? The answer, in part, lies in understanding the complex web of conflict that has ensnared the region for decades. One strand of this web leads us to the story of M23, a rebel group whose name has become synonymous with the ongoing struggle for power and recognition in the eastern Congo. Their story, often misunderstood and misrepresented, is a microcosm of the broader Congolese conflict, reflecting the deep-seated grievances, the quest for self-determination, and the yearning for a just and equitable society. To understand M23, we must delve into the tumultuous history of the Democratic Republic of Congo. Belgian colonial rule left deep scars, sowing divisions and creating a system benefiting colonizers. Post-independence, Congo faced political crises and civil wars. Lumumba's assassination in 1961 led to instability and authoritarian rule. Mobutu Sese Seko's regime brought corruption and repression. Neighboring countries exploited Congo's weakness, fueling proxy wars. The Rwandan genocide spilled over into Congo, destabilizing the region. Armed groups ignited conflict in eastern Congo, causing a humanitarian catastrophe. Civilians faced atrocities, displacement, and violence. The international community's efforts were insufficient to end the cycle of violence. Against a backdrop of historical trauma and conflict, the M23 movement emerged in 2012. Named after a failed peace agreement, M23 claimed the government reneged on promises to integrate CNDP fighters. The movement drew support from the Congolese Tutsi community, facing persecution and marginalization. M23's emergence was met with mixed reactions, seen as both a force for stability and a destabilizing threat. The international community condemned the rebellion, calling for a peaceful resolution. The roots of the M23 rebellion run deep, entwined with the long history of conflict and mistrust that has plagued eastern Congo. The 2009 peace agreement aimed to integrate former rebels into the national army and address Tutsi grievances. However, the agreement proved fragile, leading to the formation of M23 by disgruntled elements within the CNDP. They argued the government failed to uphold its promises, citing continued marginalization and violence. The M23's message resonated with many within the Tutsi community, particularly in North and South Kivu. The region, scarred by years of conflict, provided a ready pool of recruits for the rebellion. Disillusioned young men flocked to the M23, seeking revenge or a better future. The government's dismissive attitude and heavy-handed response only fueled the rebellion. In April 2012, discontent boiled over. The M23, led by experienced commanders, launched a rebellion against the Congolese government. Their initial target was Goma, the strategic hub of eastern Congo. The M23's advance was swift, overwhelming the Congolese army. The fall of Goma in November 2012 sent shockwaves through the region. It exposed the weakness of the Congolese government and raised fears of a wider conflict. The M23 had become a force to be reckoned with. Emboldened by their military successes, the M23 issued demands to the Congolese government. They called for the recognition of the M23 as a legitimate political force and an end to discrimination against the Tutsi community. The government, under international pressure, agreed to negotiate, but talks quickly stalled. The M23 sought to bolster their legitimacy but faced accusations of human rights violations. These allegations tarnished their image and hindered international support. The M23 rebellion was not simply an internal Congolese affair, it became entangled in a complex web of regional rivalries and competing interests. Neighboring countries, each with their own agendas, played a role in fueling the conflict. Rwanda, in particular, was accused of supporting the M23, a charge it denied. Rwanda, with its own history of conflict, was viewed with suspicion by many in Congo. The conflict had a regional dimension, with accusations flying between neighboring capitals. The international community struggled to find a coherent and effective response. The United Nations, through its peacekeeping mission, MONUSCO, was criticized for its inability to protect civilians. Amidst this volatile backdrop, efforts to find a peaceful resolution continued. Regional organizations played a leading role in mediating between the Congolese government and the M23. These efforts offered a glimmer of hope for a negotiated settlement. However, as negotiations dragged on, the M23's internal unity began to fray. Disagreements emerged within the movement's leadership over strategy and objectives. These internal divisions contributed to the M23's downfall. To understand the M23's struggle, we must uncover the deep-seated grievances rooted in history. Belgian colonial rule exploited Congolese and sowed seeds of division. The Belgians favored certain ethnic groups, creating lasting divisions. Tutsis received preferential treatment, creating resentment among other groups. This manipulation created a hierarchy that persisted post-independence. Tutsis, once favored, were later targeted, leading to displacement. Ethnic violence forced many Tutsis to flee and seek refuge. This displacement shaped the Tutsi community's collective memory. Many felt betrayed by the government, their pleas ignored. Historical grievances formed a potent undercurrent of resentment. The M23 emerged from this crucible of history. Their leaders tapped into this resentment, mobilizing a force. They spoke of a shared history of suffering and the need to fight. The M23's struggle is rooted in this historical context. The mistreatment of the M23 community manifests in their daily lives. They face systematic discrimination, treated as second-class citizens. This discrimination permeates education, employment, and politics. M23 children face obstacles in education, limiting their future. They are trapped in a cycle of poverty and marginalization. Excluded from government jobs, they rely on menial labor. The legal system offers little recourse for the M23 community. They face police harassment, arbitrary arrests, and unfair trials. Their land rights are routinely violated, property seized. This discrimination creates hopelessness and despair. They are treated as outsiders in their own land. This fuels deep resentment towards the government. The mistreatment of the M23 community was not limited to institutional discrimination or systemic neglect. It often manifested in brutal and terrifying ways: targeted attacks, massacres, and forced displacement. These acts of violence, often perpetrated with impunity, served as a stark reminder of their vulnerability and the precariousness of their existence. Armed groups, some with ties to the Congolese army, roamed the countryside, terrorizing villages, looting property, and killing indiscriminately. The M23 community, often perceived as an easy target, bore the brunt of this violence. Their homes were burned, their livestock stolen, and their loved ones murdered. Women and girls were particularly vulnerable, subjected to rape and sexual slavery as a weapon of war. These attacks, often carried out with unimaginable cruelty, left deep scars, both physical and psychological. They shattered families, destroyed communities, and created a climate of fear and distrust. Survivors were left to grapple with the trauma of what they had witnessed, haunted by the memories of loved ones lost and the constant threat of further violence. The Congolese government, often accused of complicity in these atrocities, did little to protect the M23 community or bring the perpetrators to justice. This lack of accountability only fueled the cycle of violence and impunity, emboldening armed groups and deepening the sense of grievance felt by the M23 community. They felt abandoned by the state, left to fend for themselves in a hostile and unforgiving environment. At the heart of the conflict in eastern Congo, and intrinsically linked to the M23's struggle, lies the battle for land, a precious and contested resource. This struggle, fueled by demographics, historical grievances, and economic opportunities, created a tinderbox of ethnic tensions, with the M23 community often caught in the crossfire. Eastern Congo, with its fertile volcanic soil and mineral wealth, has long been a magnet for migration, both internal and external. Different ethnic groups, each with their own claims and historical narratives, have competed for control of this valuable land, leading to disputes, displacement, and violence. The M23 community, often perceived as outsiders due to their historical migrations and connections to neighboring Rwanda, faced accusations of land grabbing, accused of encroaching upon the ancestral lands of other groups. These accusations, often fueled by political opportunism and ethnic prejudices, ignored the complex history of land ownership in the region, a history marked by colonial manipulation, forced relocations, and informal settlements. The Congolese government, grappling with the challenges of land reform and resource management, often exacerbated tensions through its policies and actions. Corruption, weak governance, and the manipulation of ethnic identities for political gain created an environment where land disputes could easily escalate into violence. The M23, in this context, presented themselves as defenders of their community's land rights, vowing to protect their homes and livelihoods from encroachment and exploitation. Their stance, while resonating with their base, further fueled accusations of separatism and land grabbing, deepening the divides within Congolese society. The M23's story, while unique in its specificities, reflects a broader malaise afflicting the Democratic Republic of Congo, a country grappling with the legacies of colonialism, ethnic divisions, weak governance, and foreign interference. The mistreatment of the M23 community serves as a stark reminder of the challenges facing Congo, a nation struggling to build a just and equitable society for all its citizens. The M23's rebellion, while condemned by the international community and ultimately defeated militarily, did not emerge in a vacuum. It was a symptom of deeper structural problems, a manifestation of the Congolese state's failure to protect its citizens, uphold the rule of law, and address historical grievances. The international community, while providing humanitarian aid and supporting peacekeeping efforts, has often failed to address the root causes of the conflict. Short-term solutions focused on containing violence and stabilizing the situation have taken precedence over long-term strategies aimed at promoting sustainable peace, good governance, and reconciliation. The M23's story is a cautionary tale, a reminder that military solutions alone cannot bring lasting peace to Congo. Unless the underlying issues of ethnic discrimination, land conflicts, weak governance, and impunity are addressed, the cycle of violence will continue, claiming more lives and perpetuating the suffering of innocent people. Only through a comprehensive approach involving all segments of Congolese society and supported by the international community can Congo break free from its troubled past and build a brighter future for all its people. The M23 are often accused of being outsiders, but this is a dangerous distortion of history. The M23 community, primarily Congolese Tutsis, has deep-rooted connections to the Congolese nation. Their ancestors migrated centuries ago, contributing to the rich tapestry of Congolese society. To claim they are not Congolese is to deny this shared history and their rightful place. The M23, like many Congolese, have roots firmly planted in Congolese soil. shared heritage, shared destiny, cultural and linguistic links. Beyond historical presence, the M23's claim to Congolese identity is further strengthened by the undeniable cultural and linguistic links they share with other Congolese communities. From the music that animates their celebrations to the traditions passed down through generations, the M23's cultural expressions are interwoven with the broader tapestry of Congolese heritage. The languages spoken by the M23, often cited as evidence of their foreignness, are in fact an integral part of Congo's linguistic diversity. Languages like Kinyarwanda, while also spoken in neighboring Rwanda, are spoken by communities who have lived in Congo for centuries. Their linguistic heritage a testament to the fluidity of pre-colonial borders and the interconnectedness of the region's people. The rhythms of traditional dances, the vibrant colors of clothing, the stories told around the fire. These cultural expressions transcend artificial borders, reflecting a shared heritage that binds the M23 to their fellow Congolese. To witness their celebrations is to witness the richness and diversity of Congolese culture, a culture that embraces a multitude of influences, a testament to the country's long history of migration and exchange. Furthermore, the M23's struggles, their aspirations for a better future, resonate deeply with the experiences of countless other Congolese who have also faced marginalization, discrimination, and violence. The desire for peace, justice, and a fairer society transcends ethnic or regional divides, uniting the M23 with their fellow citizens in a shared quest for a more equitable and prosperous Congo. Generations of belonging dispelling the myth of recent arrival. The accusation that the M23 are recent arrivals to Congo, foreigners seeking to exploit the country's resources, is not only baseless, but also deeply offensive to a community that has contributed to Congo's social, economic, and cultural fabric for generations. Their families have tilled the land, built businesses, raised children, and contributed to their communities, their lives deeply intertwined with the rhythms of Congolese society. To deny the M23 their history is to deny the reality of their lived experiences, the generations born and raised on Congolese soil, who have known no other home. Their children attend Congolese schools, speak Congolese languages, and dream Congolese dreams, their futures inextricably linked to the fate of their nation. The M23's elders, the keepers of their collective memory, can recount a time before the current conflict, a time when their communities lived in relative peace alongside their neighbors, sharing resources, celebrating together, and resolving disputes through traditional mechanisms. The current climate of mistrust and suspicion, fueled by political opportunism and divisive rhetoric, stands in stark contrast to this shared history of coexistence. The M23, like any community, is not a monolith. Within their ranks one finds farmers and teachers, doctors and artists, each contributing their unique talents and perspectives to the richness of Congolese society. To reduce them to a caricature of foreign invaders is to ignore the complexity of their individual stories, the hopes, dreams, and aspirations that connect them to their fellow Congolese. A narrative disarmed. Exposing the RDF support fallacy. Claims of RDF support for M23 lack credible evidence, serving to undermine M23's legitimacy and obscure genuine grievances. Despite numerous investigations, no proof of RDF involvement has been found. The narrative serves to deflect responsibility from the Congolese government and simplify the conflict for international actors. M23 denies RDF support, emphasizing their struggle for self-determination. Fabrications and agendas. Unmasking the perpetrators of falsehoods. To understand the persistence of the RDF support narrative, one must look beyond the headlines and examine the motivations of those who propagate it. A network of actors, both within Congo and internationally, benefit from perpetuating this falsehood. Certain political factions and armed groups maintain the perception of an external enemy. By exaggerating the threat posed by the M23 and linking them to Rwanda, these actors can rally support and divert attention from their own complicity in the conflict. Self-reliance and resilience. The M23's internal resources and resolve, Despite facing a well-equipped Congolese army, the M23 has shown remarkable resilience. Their resourcefulness and deep community roots sustain their operations. Skilled fighters, many veterans, provide crucial expertise. Guerrilla tactics and local support enhance their effectiveness. They acquire weapons through various means, including capturing enemy supplies. Resourcefulness and improvisation are essential for their survival. The M23 counters accusations of external support by inviting transparency and independent investigations. They invite international observers and journalists to verify their claims and see their struggle firsthand. By embracing transparency, the M23 aims to distinguish themselves from other armed groups in eastern Congo. Their call for transparency challenges the international community to engage with the complexities of the Congolese conflict. The M23, often portrayed solely through the lens of conflict, is not merely a rebel group seeking power for its own sake. Their struggle is driven by a deeper yearning for recognition, justice, and a place within Congolese society. To understand the M23, one must look beyond the battlefield. Their fight is about securing a future for their community, free from fear, displacement, and violence. They envision an eastern Congo where their children can grow up in peace. The M23 maintains that negotiation is the only path to lasting peace in eastern Congo. They demand the full implementation of the 2009 peace agreement. This agreement addresses integrating rebels, land disputes, and reconciliation. The M23 argues the government's failure to implement it led to their rebellion. Section 3. Marginalization to partnership. Securing rights for the Tutsi community. The M23 envisions a Congo where the Tutsi community is recognized as equal partners, ending decades of marginalization and persecution. They advocate for equal rights, quality education, and job opportunities based on merit. The M23 calls for an end to hate speech and divisive rhetoric. Promoting interethnic dialogue and reconciliation is essential for lasting peace. They envision a unified Congo where diversity is celebrated and all citizens' rights are embraced. Section 4. From Conflict to Coexistence. A Vision for Eastern Congo's Future. The M23's struggle, born out of conflict, carries a message of hope for Eastern Congo's future. They envision a region where dialogue and respect overcome divisions. A place where children laugh, farmers work, and communities rebuild, where mineral wealth uplifts lives, providing education and healthcare. Beyond material prosperity, they dream of peace and harmony. Different ethnic groups living together in peace, celebrating cultural differences and remembering the past. Achieving this vision requires courage and breaking cycles of violence. The government must lead with a national vision for peace. The M23 are ready to play a constructive role. Their experiences and sacrifices offer a unique perspective. They are prepared to lay down arms and work for a brighter future. Faces of Determination. M23's generals and their paths to leadership. Behind M23's struggle are leaders like Sultani Makenga and Bosco Ntaganda, who rose from their communities, embodying both resilience and controversy. Makenga, a seasoned commander, and Ntaganda, a charismatic yet controversial figure, reflect the complex realities of the Congolese conflict. Their stories highlight the human face of M23, marked by resilience and the scars of conflict. Beyond the stereotypes, humanizing the stories of M23 soldiers. The image of the M23 often conjured in the media is one of faceless soldiers, their individual stories lost amidst the dehumanizing language of war. Yet, within the ranks of the M23 marched ordinary men driven by a complex mix of motivations, young men who joined out of desperation, seeking escape from poverty or the threat of forced recruitment by other armed groups, seasoned fighters who believed in the M23's cause, yearning for a better future for their community, and those caught in the crossfire, forced to choose sides in a conflict that offered no easy answers. There's the story of Patrick, a young recruit who joined the M23 after witnessing his family's farm being looted by government soldiers. His dreams of becoming a teacher shattered by the cycle of violence that engulfed his village. There's the story of Josephine, a mother who sought refuge within the M23-controlled territory after her husband was killed, and her daughters threatened by a rival militia, finding a semblance of security and a chance to rebuild her life. And there's the story of David, a disillusioned government soldier who defected to the M23, convinced that their fight for justice and equality offered the only hope for a better Congo. These individual stories, each a testament to the human cost of conflict, challenge the simplistic narratives that often dominate discussions about the M23. By humanizing the individuals behind the movement, we begin to grasp the complexity of their motivations, the weight of their sacrifices, and the enduring hope that fuels their struggle. Beyond the stereotypes, humanizing the stories of M23 soldiers. The image of the M23 often conjured in the media is one of faceless soldiers, their individual stories lost amidst the dehumanizing language of war. Yet, within the ranks of the M23 marched ordinary men driven by a complex mix of motivations, young men who joined out of desperation, seeking escape from poverty or the threat of forced recruitment by other armed groups, seasoned fighters who believed in the M23's cause, yearning for a better future for their community, and those caught in the crossfire, forced to choose sides in a conflict that offered no easy answers. There's the story of Patrick, a young recruit who joined the M23 after witnessing his family's farm being looted by government soldiers. His dreams of becoming a teacher shattered by the cycle of violence that engulfed his village. There's the story of Josephine, a mother who sought refuge within the M23-controlled territory after her husband was killed, and her daughters threatened by a rival militia, finding a semblance of security and a chance to rebuild her life. And there's the story of David, a disillusioned government soldier who defected to the M23, convinced that their fight for justice and equality offered the only hope for a better Congo. These individual stories, each a testament to the human cost of conflict, challenge the simplistic narratives that often dominate discussions about the M23. By humanizing the individuals behind the movement, we begin to grasp the complexity of their motivations, the weight of their sacrifices, and the enduring hope that fuels their struggle. The unfinished struggle. Navigating a complex present, striving for a peaceful future. The M23's journey is far from over. While their military campaign may have subsided, their struggle for recognition, justice, and a place within Congolese society continues. The challenges they face are immense, the path forward fraught with uncertainty, yet their determination to secure a better future for their community remains unwavering. The M23's current situation is a precarious one. Dispersed and disarmed following their military defeat, they exist in a state of political limbo, their fate hanging in the balance of ongoing negotiations with the Congolese government. The promises of peace agreements remain unfulfilled, the threat of renewed violence a constant shadow looming over their communities. Despite these challenges, the M23 remains committed to a peaceful resolution. They understand that true peace cannot be achieved through force of arms alone. It requires dialogue, compromise, and a willingness to address the root causes of conflict. The M23 leadership continues to advocate for their people's rights, seeking to transform their struggle from one of armed resistance to one of political engagement and social inclusion. The road ahead will be long and arduous. Mistrust runs deep, old wounds remain unhealed, and the specter of violence continues to haunt the region. Yet, amidst the uncertainty, there is a flicker of hope. The M23's willingness to engage in dialogue, coupled with a growing international recognition of the need to address the root causes of the conflict, creates a fragile opportunity for peace. A call for understanding, reframing the narrative for a shared Congolese destiny. The M23 story is about identity, belonging, and justice. It challenges us to look beyond simplistic narratives and recognize our shared humanity. For too long, the M23 has been defined by its enemies. Their story deserves to be heard on its own terms. Understanding the M23's struggle requires acknowledging historical injustices and systemic discrimination. The M23's journey reminds us that peace is a continuous effort to bridge divides and build a future of shared purpose. It is a call for a Congo where all citizens have an equal opportunity to thrive and contribute to the nation's bright future.